Dear participants, good afternoon to one and all. Our speaker is ready. Today you'll have a session on emotional competencies and stress management. Now I request Dr. P. A. Nageshwar sir to introduce our speaker to the participants. Over to Nageshwar sir.
Good afternoon. Is my voice clear, ma'am? Good afternoon, dear members. Effective stress management helps us to break or hold stress, which efforts one's life to be happier, healthier, and more productive. The ultimate goal is a balanced life with time for work, relationships, relaxations, and fun and flexibility to hold up under pressure and meet the challenges ahead on. Thanks for the AICT Atal scheme for making a mandatory session on trust management for the 5-day workshop online FTP on advances in sensor technology. Now I take the privilege to introduce the resource person of the session, Mrs. Bandhana Roy, founder and chief mentor at Ananya TEC Training, Education and Consulting Services, to deliver the talk on emotional competences and stress management. Mrs. Roy has obtained her BSc Botany graduation degree in 1995 from BRA Bihar University. Then she secured diploma in HMCTAN in 1998 from IHM Bhopal. Later, she has done PG diploma in business management marketing during 2003 to 2005 from Symbiosis Institute of Management Studies. Mrs. Roy has a vast experience of 22 years at various esteemed organizations that include hotel industry, Amity University, IIM, TO, PU, Green People, and presently founder and chief mentor establishing Ananya TEC Training Education Consulting Servicing, an organization by herself. With 22 years of experience, she has exposure to service and allied sector. Now, her skill sets primarily include identifying and practicing innovation learning solutions aligned with organizational strategic talent management guidelines for all related stakeholders, right from working with most reputed brands in creating our own socio-economic brand. Her most amazing learning has always been about people. Working on strengths to overshadow weakness has been the USP of all her teams. She strongly believes that success means growth with integrity. She has been exploring challenging platforms to set milestones throughout her journey. Mrs. Roy's journey so far revolves around exploring systems, processes, teams, organizations, and ecosystems to identify shades of black in gray and replace them with more shades of white by creative and innovative solutions. I am deeply touched for getting the opportunity for introducing such distinguished speaker, acting as a resource person for the session. With this brief introduction about Mrs. Roy, now I hand over the session to you, ma'am. Ms. Bandhani Roy, ma'am, the session is to you. Please take over the session, ma'am.
Ma'am, please unmute yourself. Okay. Again muted, ma'am. Again.
No. I know. Unmuted.
Multiple times you're maybe clicking on that, ma'am. Please check it once. Ma'am, you have to unmute yourself.
Hello? Please unmute your mic and, ma'am, you are not audible to us, ma'am. Ma'am, your device is getting some problem. Your device is getting, speaker is getting on and off frequently. మీ వెంట పెట్టండి చెప్తాను నా వాయిస్ వినిపిస్తుంది నా వాయిస్ వినిపిస్తుందా Ma'am, your voice is not audible to us. Please look into the chat box. We are just giving you some help instructions in the chat box. Yes, ma'am. Now you try to speak. You're unmute now. But your voice is not audible. నా వాయిస్ వస్తుందా మ్యామ్ your voice is not audible. We're not able to hear you anything. మ్యామ్ అవును ఫోన్లో లాగిన్ అవ్వమని లేకపోతే పీపీటీ అని ఉంటారు కదా చెప్తాను అయితే నా వాయిస్ మేడం can you also log in another device to give your audio? మ్యామ్ ఆవిడ నాకు కాల్ చేస్తున్నట్టున్నారు
Hello. Yes, ma'am.
Yeah, am I audible now?
Yes, ma'am, you're audible.
Okay, so I have logged in from my mobile and I'm trying to get back to meeting again for my presentation. Yeah. So just give me my apologies. We tested the other day and everything was working well. I don't know why it's happening now.
Yes, ma'am.
I'm audible. First of all, my sincere apologies to everybody. And I never expected that this happened.
You're audible.
My apologies to everybody. My sincere apologies. I don't know how to compensate this, but I hope whatever time we have left, and I will try to cover it up in whatever way. But sincere apologies for this, 5 minutes that is spoiled because of me. So without wasting much of time, I will start with my presentation. Now, if I talk of 1 second, let me just fix my mobile. Yeah. So now if I talk of the stress management part, just now we all have gone through a very good example of having stress, and more than the technical stress that was the key cause, my key concern was that the kind of embarrassment I was feeling, the kind of, I was really very sad about the fact that, everybody is waiting and I was so looking forward to it. It was more of a kind of emotional trauma to me. So last half an hour, it's one of the memories of my life that you should not take technology for granted. We all have used technology so much in last couple of months, and today the technology has actually taught us that, see, please don't take me for granted. I can ditch you anytime. So with that, I come to the presentation. As we know that we are going to discuss about how our emotions are actually the key cause, and how we can use the same emotions to take care of our stress in our life. So, if I may ask you all that, what is stress? What does stress mean to you? What it is actually? If you can write in the chat box that what is stress for you? Can I see the chat box here? Is chat box visible to me here? I won't be able to see chat box, is it? Chat.
Ma'am,
Yeah.
in the right side, you'll have participants, and besides that, chat box is there, ma'am. You just click on that. You can see the chat
I
box.
know, but then I'm unable to go. Maybe I'm on a different browser, so it's behaving. But I can see it here, I think. I will just try to see on my mobile if the chat option is there. Yeah, if somebody can talk, instead of writing in chat, let's talk. Just unmute yourself and tell me what is actually stress for you. What gets you in stress? If somebody wants to talk.
Good afternoon.
Yeah.
Good afternoon.
Good afternoon.
My name is Ram Man, and I'm a assistant professor in the Department of ECE, the host college.
All right.
So, coming back to your question, stress for me is unable to fulfill one's own expectations or unable to live up to one's own expectations.
Mm-hmm. True, very true. So again, here when we're talking about expectation, it's more about expectation that we are talking about. It's more about our own self, the things that we have created, the expectation that we have set from us and from others as well. So when we talk of meeting up with the expectation or not matching the expectation, it's all about our inner journey more than the external world telling us. Most of the time you'll feel, suppose there is a time and your family was expecting you back home and you are unable to reach home on time, then more than people complaining to you, you come into that guilt, and to match up that guilt, you end up either showing anger or you go extra polite. We never handle our failure to manage our own expectation in a balanced way. We always go extreme. So either we'll go with more of a grumpy mode so that nobody is able to tell us we are being grumpy, but the fact is that we are actually not able to manage the balance over there. From within we are very guilty, but on face we are showing very tough, that we are very irritated, very angry, so that nobody tells us anything. So having said that, what we are going to do today, we are going to learn the techniques. First of all, we are going to understand what emotions are, and then we are going to learn the techniques that is used in managing our emotions. So give me a moment to go back to the next slide. Yeah, so as I discussed, that we are going to talk about what are different types of emotions. What is emotional intelligence all about? This is a much talked about term nowadays. EI is something which everybody is talking nowadays, but we are going to actually understand that how does it affect our stress level and how we can handle our own emotions to manage our emotion, not just ours, but to the rest of the world also, the community that we are leading, the community that we are part of. So before we actually get into that, first let's understand what emotions are. As somebody had just shared in the chat box, emotions are nothing but very strong feelings. These are the feelings which is supported or which is backed or which is caused because of some earlier experience or mood swings or relationships or current state of mind. So emotions are nothing but they are just feelings. When we come to emotional intelligence is our ability to understand and manage our own emotions and understand and manage others' emotions. So in today's session, we are actually going to understand that how do we know what is my emotion, and if I know, how do I manage it? Again, what is the emotion of the other person or the society around me, and how do I manage to that? Managing to that means how do I respond to that? And we are going to understand. So first is emotion, which is just the feeling. Emotional intelligence, which is just our ability to manage our and others emotions. Then comes emotional competencies. Emotional competencies are our skill sets to develop that ability to respond to a given emotion. So emotions are feelings. Emotional intelligence is our capacity or our ability to manage those emotions. Emotional competencies are our skill sets which helps us to get that ability. And last, we are going to understand that how do we know, how do we check whether I have these set of emotions or not, whether I have these sets of skill sets or not, to understand whether I'm responding well or not. So now we come to emotions. Tell me one thing, if somebody wants to unmute or talk about it, what were the two first emotions that we had when we were growing? I'm saying when we were like 3 to 4 years. Just go back to those initial years of your life and tell me what were the two first emotions that we had. First two emotions. Anybody wants to talk about it?
Obviously, one was hunger, if I'm right.
Hunger is a need. Hunger is not an emotion.
Okay, it's not an emotion. All right.
Just go in, just don't think in English at the moment. Just go in that core language which you used to use with your parents, with your grandparents, with people working in your house. You remember it was either happy or sad. Either you were very happy, whatever nature language that you
Right.
हमें से हिंदी it was मैं बहुत खुश हूँ या मैं बहुत दुखी हूँ. So either we were very happy or we were very sad. Either we were happy or sad. So if I've got a good food, if my mom has made some favorite food of mine, or if I have got pizza or Chinese or whatever from outside, I'm happy. If she has scolded me, I'm sad. The same way, parents were either, at the most, the two new terms we got to know was anger and fear. So what I'm trying to say here is today we are spoiled in terms of choices, not just in terms of material, but also in terms of our emotions. Now we are just not happy. We are exclaimed. We are astonished. We are excited. We are thrilled. So the same happiness has got so many sub emotions attached to it. The same way, we are not just sad, we are unhappy, we are low, we are demotivated, we are pessimistic. So there are so many sub emotions that has got connected to emotions, and that is why we got this new term called emotional intelligence introduced in around 1995, because before that the emotions were not so complex. Now with getting life getting complex, technology being introduced, people getting into a different fast space of leading life, we got so many forms of emotions. So that is why we need to study our emotions nowadays. So you go to any such sessions or programs or life skill courses, every time a very major focus is given on understanding your emotions, because emotions are very complex now. They are no more as simple as they were when we were growing. So if you talk of being sad, as I say, ashamed, awful, disappointed, discouraged, gloomy, there are so many new terms. And believe you me, you go and try to check spell meaning of these words, you will get a different specific meaning of each one of these terms in Oxford Dictionary. So they are not the synonyms. Each one of them have got different meanings. So and here I have listed just couple of them. So and ashamed, awful, disappointed, discouraged, gloomy, they all are different to each other. And like that, there are so many emotions. So instead of going into detailing of what is a particular emotion, it's important for us to understand that whatever is the emotion, how we respond to it will decide our success in being a emotionally balanced person. So it's not the emotion that creates the problem or that creates the issue or that makes our life difficult. It's the skills, it's our skill set to manage those emotions. When I'm saying managing those emotions, I'm saying responding to those emotions. So with this, I introduce you to Mr. Daniel Goleman's very popular and I think one of its kind 5-dimension model of emotional intelligence. So here, if you look at it, EI has got 3 dimensions which is connected to or which is attached to or which responds to our personal emotional needs and their responses. So that is self-awareness, self-management, motivation, and then coming to our in terms of the community. So empathy and social skills. So the first 3, that is awareness, self-management, and motivation, they actually tell us about how much I know my emotions and how do I respond to my emotions. The next 2, that is empathy and social skills, tells us how much I know about others' emotions and how do I respond to that. So with that, now these were the 5 dimensions of emotional intelligence. Now each of the dimensions have got a couple of competencies, and in total there are 25 of them, which is listed over here. But if I'm saying there are 25 of them, not necessarily they are limited to only 25 of them. There are many more than that. But these are the 25 broad competencies that we need to learn today to understand our emotional intelligence or our level of managing emotions for self and for community. So I'll take you through one by one through each of the dimension of EI, and we'll discuss their competencies. So the first dimension is self-awareness. As it clearly defines that self-awareness is understanding yourself, understanding your own emotions. So what are those competencies that will help you to understand your emotions? The first one, and the very important, the most important competency here is emotional awareness. When I'm saying emotional awareness, it's not just knowing that what apparently you feel is your a present emotion. So as I gave example of reaching home late in the evening from your office. So here when you're entering your house or when you're on your way and you know that you're supposed to reach by 6 and it's already 6:30, the first emotion that immediately you will identify is a sense of guilt. All right. Now, when I say it's a sense of guilt, it's actually the immediate thing that you are understanding. But if you go to root cause to it, maybe it's kind of a sense of responsibility. Maybe you had to give some time to your kids' study, or maybe you had to take your parents to hospital, or maybe you had to take your spouse for a night out. So here it's sense of responsibility, but you are feeling guilty about it. So when we say being guilty is our emotion, actually guilty is our response to the emotion of feeling responsible. The moment you feel that it's not guilt, but it's feeling of responsibility, your immediate response to it will change. If you feel guilty, you'll get angry or you'll feel very depressed and you'll reach home. If you actually identify that emotion as a feeling of responsibility, immediately you will understand or you'll get into a zone wherein you'll try to identify how do I deal with it? How do I compensate it? How do I take out time or manage my time that if I am unable to do it today, then I do it tomorrow? How do I accept my sense of that not inability to do it today to my family? How do I communicate it? So the entire that travel between guilt and grudge will get you into a balanced space that will help you to respond to it. So instead of feeling guilty, you will feel your emotion is feeling of responsibility. So this is what emotional awareness is. Emotional awareness is not just what you can see on face. Emotional awareness is actually wherein you are able to understand the core emotion and then respond to it. So the best mapping tool here is introspection. Once in a while, you should just sit and understand that in a given situation, if you reacted instead of responding, if you went into extreme of guilt or grudge, then what was your real emotion that time? And when you keep practicing it, maybe not just for the current emotional stage, but for the past emotional reactions or responses also, it will get into you will get into a space wherein you will be able to understand emotions then and there. Am I clear till here? Anybody wants to add anything? Otherwise, I'll move, because I don't believe in monologue, and because of so much of technological challenge, I'm getting into monologue. But otherwise, session should be always dialogue and lots of communication. So, anybody would like to say anything about it? What we have just spoken, the competency of emotional awareness. Anybody has anything to say?
No, ma'am, I don't have anything to say.
Yeah. Anyone else? You want to write something in chat box? Now I think I can see the chat window. So anybody wants to? Anybody has anything to say? You can write in the chat box. Yeah. I can't see any chat coming in. So nothing as such. Should I go ahead?
Yes, ma'am.
Yeah. Okay. All right. So now we come to the next competency, and that is self-assessment. Now, once I know that what is my emotion set, the next step is that we assess our emotional level. So whether it's my strength or my weakness. At times we say that being angry is not a good thing. But if you have the anger and you know how to respond with your anger or respond to your anger, it can also be taken as your strength. Anger is, see, none of the emotions are good or bad. It's our response that decides whether the emotion, our response may be good or bad, or positive or negative, or our strength or opportunity. So you have to actually understand that once you've identified your emotion, it's important for us to see that whether we are able to manage my emotion as a strength, or it while I'm trying to manage it, it becomes my limitation. So how do we do that? Again, root cause analysis of our success and failure. If you understand that what are the root causes of a given success or a given failure in a given situation, you will be able to understand that whether that particular emotion or that particular response to emotion was your strength or your limitation. The next one is self confidence. Very, very important. At times we end up judging ourselves. If I'm getting angry often, or if I am getting depressed often, or if I feel negative, or I feel jealous, we start doubting our own self. So one thing we have to understand for ourselves, and once we understand for ourselves, it will help us in understanding others also. We are not supposed to blame us for all the so-called negative responses to emotions, or so-called negative emotions. Whatever it is, when you start talking to people around, you'll actually feel that these are very common emotions. Getting jealous from a colleague who's doing well, is there's nothing bad about it. You should know how to manage it. You can use that being jealous in your own growth. But being jealous, being angry, being sad, being depressed, they are not at all a bad thing. These emotions happen, and that is why they are there. So you don't have to actually judge yourself and blame yourself and hide these emotions from the world. If you are jealous, you are jealous. We all get jealous. Between parents, if kids are more close to the father than the mother, or vice versa, they get jealous of each other, that why kids are giving more time. Between siblings, there is this sibling rivalry, and these emotions are there. We are humans, so it's very natural for us to have those emotions. So it's very it's advisable to take yourself the way you are, unless until you accept that you have a given emotion in in extreme, or you need it more, unless until you accept it and be confident about it, be confident about managing it, you can't take the next step of going better in terms of your responses. So that is about the self awareness. Now once we know our emotions, the next step is how do we manage it, or how do we respond it. Managing emotions means how do we respond to a given emotion. So the first one is self control. It's always said that if you're getting angry on somebody and you are raising your pitch, it's not right, you should control it. That is what self control is all about. But that does not mean that you go in silent mode. We have to find a midway. So while we are expressing, we must express our anger, but while we are expressing it, we have to mind our pitch, we have to mind our tone, in what the choice of words. So expression of anger or expression of any emotion for that matter is perfect, but we should know how do we respond, how do we express it, how do we speak about it, in what tone we speak about it. Same goes for happiness also. If we don't know how to express our happiness, if we remain quiet and I'm very happy about maybe my kids success, or by the kind of things that my siblings are doing, but I'm not able to express it, I'm not able to tell them. And it generally happens with more of us, and it happens in the closer relationship, at at work or in the community. We go and we know how to compliment people, but in personal space we don't do that. Why we don't do that? Because we don't know how to respond to it. So instead of going and managing and responding to it or expressing it in moderation, we choose not to respond to it, because at times we have that fear that people may take us for granted. At times we feel there is no need, it's understood, but we should never take relationships for granted, neither in terms of expressing our anger in extreme, or the other way, not sharing, not giving compliments, not telling good about people, not giving constructive feedback. So self control while we are sharing our emotions is also very important. Then comes trustworthiness. uh, See, one is that we all feel, if you ask anybody under the sky, nobody will say that they don't have integrity. They are not honest. But instead of proving it to others and telling it to others, we need to ask our own selves that how important are these ethics for me? And if ethics are important for me, how often do I exhibit it? So that will also give us a fair idea about how do I manage my emotions. So it may so happen that there is some issue happening and I'm really very disturbed because of this, maybe socially or maybe at work, or maybe there is some unethical practice happening and I'm unable to express it. So if you are unable to express it because you don't believe in it, it still is all right, because that is beyond, you don't believe in it, you don't have to express it. But if you believe in a given practice and something is going against that, and then you are unable to express it, then the question comes on your trustworthiness. That you have been talking about a given, cause or a given belief so much, but when it comes to expression, you are unable to manage your emotions. You are unable to express it. So that is where we need to. That is another checkpoint how well we can manage our emotions. Then comes how much we are able to take ownership of our acts. If I fail to do something, if I have not done something on time, or if I am unable to meet up my targets or take my classes in a given time, or give submit my assignments or projects on time, am I taking ownership of it, or I always end up giving somebody else? At home there was someone unwell, at office I got extra work, I had fever, there is so much of depression going around, classes are not happening properly. Like for example, like today, the kind of technological issue happened, I don't have any right to put it on technology. Actually, it's my fault, I should have kept a backup ready, and because I did not need it till date, all my sessions happen in first go, I got connected, I had internet connectivity. Once I failed in that, so immediately I bought two more dongles and I kept it with me. So now today is another learning lesson for me, that I have to keep the backup ready, because it's not, technology has not told me that, technology doesn't have any kind of enmity with me. It's me who took it granted and I did not keep a backup, and that is why because of me so many of us have suffered. So I'm taking ownership of the entire thing, and that is how we have to check whether we do it often or not. So that is our conscientiousness. Then comes our adaptability, how adaptable we are in a changing situation, how adaptable we are. Like if you give the COVID time, we Indians, we have shown such a great adapting spirit, that immediately, within overnight, I have seen people from yesteryears, people who had never switched on their computers and laptops, people who were always into manual work, overnight, they have started learning technology. I have seen these, very senior teachers who were like, definitely you can't compete with their wisdom and experience, but the way they have accepted technology, they were totally anti technology. They used to have 10 people working for them. Today they are able to, give online classes, they are able to connect with the community. So our adaptability to the new situation is another self management competency that, adds to our emotional intelligence. And the last one is our innovation. Innovation is something that will always keep you high whenever you are stressed. You try it out. Whenever you are stressed and you want to, come out of that stress, just get into something creative. Be it cooking, be it making some drawing, or maybe just taking a different route going back to your, home. You are very stressed, don't go by a normal route which you choose to go to home. Switch off your GPS and try to explore a new route to back home. You will see the difference in your stress level. What happens, innovation and creativity, changes or diverts your attention to something which is unexplored, something which will excite you, something which will challenge you. So in the entire work and your entire energy, focus, your response will go positive, and you will be able to come out of your stress. So that is another competency that is needed in terms of your emotional intelligence. So that was about self-awareness and self-management. Now we are moving to motivation. So now, as I know what is my emotion and I know how to manage it, how to express it, how to respond with my emotions, it's also important for me to have that positivity, that drive to actually experiment with it, actually to check out whether I'm responding or not. And that will only come if I have that self motivation, that motivation to check out how much I'm able to achieve my goals. We all know SMART goals, right? Specific, measurable, achievable, realistic, and time bound. So when I'm talking about achievement drive, how often do you set goals? These goals could be just getting up in the morning half an hour before normal days. This goal could be just losing 5 kilos in 3 months time. This goal could be maybe, making dinner for your family every alternate day. So whatever goals that you have decided, how often are you able to achieve that? The second competency is having commitment towards the goal of the larger group. So one is our own goal, the second one is the larger group goals. So how committed you are, how much you are able to help your family, your community, your neighborhood, your, colleagues, to for them to achieve a common goal. So maybe the family has decided to go for a family, morning jog every alternate day, and everybody says that you have to get up at 5 o'clock. So are you coming up with the, you're cribbing over there and you are saying that no, I won't be able to take it? Or you just say that okay, 5 o'clock, so let's do one thing. At night we'll sleep, we make sure that we sleep by 10 o'clock, so that in the morning we all are able to, go there at 5 and start our job. So how much you are taking initiative for those common goals, and how optimistic we are. So when COVID started, we all were in a zone wherein we did not know how to manage this situation. There was self-doubt, there was doubt on the community. On name of social distancing, actually we stopped, seeing anybody saying hello to people. But then after some time, as we are naturally a optimistic, species, so we moved on, and then we tried to find out the opportunity in the entire pandemic situation. And today, needless to say, that the kind of opportunities that is there, being at your home, you are able to have so much of knowledge sharing happening. I personally, now I'm talking to somebody, to an institution down south. In the morning I had a session with somebody in Guwahati. 2 days back, I was talking to a team of people from Raipur, that is in Chhattisgarh. So just being at home, now we can connect with the entire world, and so much of opportunities for all of us. So that is optimism. Now we come to the two, so we spoke about three competencies: self awareness, self management, and motivation. So that is our own self understanding our own emotions and responding to it. The next two competencies, dimensions we are going to talk about is empathy and social skills. So empathy is nothing but understanding others emotions, understanding what's going on in their mind, how they are going to what they are going to go through, what is the kind of situation they are into. So we can understand all of it if we have couple of competencies, like how much do we understand others, and how do you know whether you are able to understand others or not. So many times it happens that somebody comes to you, and even if you have not told them that what you're going through, what is going on in your mind, they automatically come up with a solution. So maybe you're very gloomy, a colleague will come with from nowhere and will say, oh, let's go for a coffee, let's go out here, I want to go for a walk, let's go out. And this is what exactly you needed, but you did not know whom to approach to. So this is called empathy, wherein you are able to read somebody's mind without them making too much of effort about explaining it to you. So if you have that or not, you can understand that how often do people generally compliment you by saying, oh, I was just thinking on the same line. Oh, how you understood that I'm very lonely. Oh, how you understood that I needed this time. So this is called one of the competencies. Then the other one is developing others. How much do you contribute in helping others to grow? Not in terms of material or not in terms of doing their work, but also in terms of giving constructive feedback, giving some time to see their achievement, appreciate it, and able to compliment them, able to give them credit for what they have done, giving some kind of constructive compliment wherein they don't feel demotivated. So do you have ability to do that? And as an academician, most of us have that ability. It's just that we need to practice it often. And again, another thing, all these competencies that we have been talking about, not necessarily everybody will have all the competencies. In fact, it's very unreal if we expect that we are 10 on 10 for all the dimensions. You may be very understanding, but maybe you are not developing others. Maybe you are very good in terms of developing others, but you don't go extra mile. Service orientation is doing something more than what is asked from you. So maybe your team has asked you to make a project, a part of project, and you feel that one of the team members is not keeping well, so you do their part also once in a while. So that is called service orientation. But if you're not doing that, that does not mean that you don't have empathy. If you're doing it, that means you are closer to being a perfect empathetic person. If you're not doing it, still you are empathetic if you are able to understand others and you are giving constructive feedback to your team. So all these are must to have couple of competencies. But if you're not having one of them, don't challenge yourself, but yes, keep working towards it. Then leverage diversity, very, very important. How open we are to work with different types of, communities. Many of us, we always choose a given set of students or given set of team members or given set of equipments or given set of environment to work. But if a new team member comes or new team member wants to come, or we have to work in a different team, either we say no for it or we go very half-heartedly to contribute over there. So that is also another point which will make you feel that how empathetic you are, how much you're trying to understand the mankind, how much you are able to work in different surroundings. And the last one is political awareness. When I'm saying political awareness, it just does not mean only politics. It is actually understanding different types of thought processes, be it in terms of your religious values, be it in terms of believing some kind of a sect or some kind of a nation or some kind of a region. So it's about even if you don't agree with someone, how much you accommodate not in terms of accepting it 100%, but in terms of coexisting. So I have this viewpoint, but I also understand that there is another viewpoint which I don't believe in, but it's all right to believe in that particular viewpoint. So instead of trolling people, instead of having heated arguments, hot discussions, stopping, nowadays I see on social media, best of the friends, they have, blocked them, each other, or they're not talking to each other, or their friendship has gone for a toss only because of a given political belief. And I find it so strange that how we can mix our inner emotions, our year long relationship, just because of a political belief. But people do that. So this is what we have to understand, how much, what is the level of these competencies we have in terms of being empathetic. And the last dimension is social skills. When I say social skills, by empathy we understand others emotions. By social skills we are able to manage those emotions. Manage as in, we are able to respond to it, we are able to optimize those emotions for the betterment of self and of the society. How good influence you make on others. If you know others emotions, if you know what is going on in their mind, if you know, you can understand what state of mind they are into, how much you are able to convince them, what is your level of persuasion, how constructive, how innovative you are in terms of getting a pleasant end to a discussion with a win-win situation. How do you make enriching societies or enriching communities? So that is your influential skill. Then comes communication. When I say communication, it's not just talking good English or having great grammars or being a great public speaker. It's also about reading between the lines. It's also about being an active and an effective listener. It's also about able to listen to others and understand, appreciate their thoughts, and then accordingly respond to it. So how often we are able to use this competency? Conflict management, how often people come to you for any kind of, if they have some kind of dispute, they come to you to resolve. If they want some kind of negotiation, they take your help, they make you part of the team. So all these are indicators whether you are able to manage conflicts or not. Leadership, we all are community leaders, we all are change makers. So this skill is something which also helps us to manage the responses around, to manage the emotions around, and that is how we will be able to be into a happy space. So leadership is not just a prerequisite for our emotions but also for our profession. So most of us being academicians, so many researchers around, or maybe you are from one of the corporate sectors, everywhere we need to lead ourselves, we need to lead communities. So for that, not just for emotion, but leadership is another response or competency that is needed for a general success in life. Change catalyst, how much you are able to break the barriers, you are able to go beyond limits and try to achieve goals for society. Then building bonds, how much are you common person in 2 3 different friend groups, so you are friends with everybody and people know each other because you are because they want to be connected with you. So there are 5 people who know each other through you. So if you have those skills, that means you are good in building bonds. Today is the era of collaborations. You talk of research, you talk of academics, you talk of corporate world. You will hardly see a standalone entity or a standalone person being achieving success or being happy or being emotionally balanced. It's always about collaboration, be it collaboration with your spouse, with your family, be it collaboration with your colleagues. Collaboration does not always mean sitting together and writing papers together. Collaboration is also making your dinner together. So somebody is doing cutting and chopping vegetable, somebody is making rice, somebody is actually playing some music or talking about the day, so that there is entertainment and energy at home. Like while I'm taking the session, I have my parents who are not well, they stay in the same building on 5th floor. So at 4 o'clock my daughter goes and she gives them fruits and all, because that's my responsibility. But the day I have my session, she goes and she does it. So that is called collaboration. And how she realized it, she saw me doing it every day. One day I could not do it, she came with an offer. And if she wouldn't have come, I would have asked her that can she do it for me. But daughters are generally darlings, so she offered and she does it for me. So that is called collaboration. In you can do in smallest of the life issues or life challenges, you can collaborate with people around, and you can manage your emotions. Otherwise, if she wouldn't have helped me, or I wouldn't have asked her to help me to take care of my parents, I had that continuous guilt that because of my professional requirement I am compromising with my parents. So that is, and the last one is team capabilities. How much you share credit. Here, if I'm saying sharing credit, I'm not saying that you give away your credit. Can you share the PPT, Dr. Joshi? Yes, I'll be sending the PPT. I'll be sending it to Dr. Vaini, and then she'll be sending it across to all of you. So every time that I make a presentation, I ensure to share it with my participant, and especially on this platform, because as I said, you all are community leaders. So when I have made it, I have not just made it for 50 of us who are going through this presentation. This is for 15 to 500 people more each one of you will be addressing. So if this presentation can be used on any such platform, that would be my most desired pleasure. So thank you so much. I'll be sending it across to all of you. So that is all about the competencies that we need to have to address all these 5 dimensions of emotional intelligence. Now, as I said earlier, that these emotional capabilities I have spoken about, they are very independent from each other, but couple of them are interdependent. So they are independent. When I'm saying if you are not a good leader, that does not mean that you don't have a great emotional intelligence. But if you don't know your emotions, you won't be able to manage it. So understanding emotion is the prime competency that is needed for your emotional intelligence. So most of these competencies are dependent on a competency called understanding your emotions. So couple of them are independent, couple of them are interdependent. They are hierarchical. As I said, that unless until you know what are your emotions, you won't be able to manage it. So they are also hierarchical. They are necessary again, but not sufficient. If you have most of them, that does not mean that you are actually very high in terms of emotional intelligence. Here we are not talking of something like critical thinking. Now, critical thinking is also required to manage your emotion, to understand the perspective of people around. So there are many such competencies that is needed, but that is not mentioned over here. But these are the 25 key competencies that will define your emotional intelligence. And they are generic. So generic in terms of your job requirement. So somebody who's dealing with human resources, or somebody who's dealing with soft skills, somebody who's dealing with accounts, somebody who's dealing with the frontline customers. So all these profiles have got a given set of competencies. So nowadays, when in job interviews, you are also evaluated based on the level of competencies and the type of competencies that you have emotionally. So these are the generic competencies given for a given role. Now, as I have already spoken about, I'll quickly run through that. What are the importance of emotional competency mapping? And it goes, same for personal, social, and professional, space. You will have clarity of goals if you are emotionally balanced, if you are emotionally, you know how to respond to it, not just in personal space, but also in social and professional space. Your productivity will increase because you'll be most of the time in a positive space. You will know what kind of decisions to make because you know how to respond to a given emotions, and you'll be able to come to a given decision, and you'll understand also that what is the consequence of a given of a given decision that you are making. Image building, definitely. It's the way we respond, the how balanced we are, how composed we are in terms of our emotions, that actually helps a lot in terms of creating the image that we are trying to create, in society. It helps us in coordination, networking, and end of it, it keeps us happy. If you know how to respond in a given situation, how to manage your emotion, how do you control it, how do you moderate it, automatically you will get enough energy, enough positivity, and enough support from society. If you are able to manage emotions of others, it will be reciprocated, and that reciprocation adds to your happiness. So the basic purpose of being emotionally intelligent, or being emotionally balanced as we call it, actually results in a more happy life. And actually, when we are talking of happiness, we are talking of managing all kind of stresses, not just financial or social, but also our inner stress, your self-induced stress, our self-perceived stress. So all that can be taken care of if we know how to manage our responses to a given situation. Now, I would like to share two tools just to start. You can start practicing with these two tools. These two tools actually contribute in a very great deal to manage your emotions. The first tool is actually what happens, as I was speaking earlier, that our responses most of the time are very extreme. We travel between guilt and grudge. And why do we do that? Because for a given emotion, we have got some core beliefs. Now, what are these core beliefs? These are most of the time our experiences, and most of the time they are experiences of our childhood and teenage. So maybe in terms of anger, there is a person and who never gets angry. He never raises his voice. And one fine morning you go and check, his BP has gone to, it has shot 200 plus, and he's in a very dangerous situation. So why it happens so? So if you check out most of the time, what you'll find out that child, when that child was growing, either his father or somebody in the family or society had a very bad temperament. Now, every time that his father would lose the temperament, or he will see there is somebody in the society making a hue and cry about a given issue, everybody in the family or in the society will name that person, will tag that person as a bad person. Oh, he's a bad person, useless, always angry. So, what this child has understood and what is deep engraved in his thoughts, on his memories, that getting angry will make you bad person. Then he would hear people talking, oh, he's getting angry all the time. See, his BP must be high. His BP will go high. So he will feel that if I get angry, my health will get affected. Then there could be some other, belief that somebody lost in his family, lost his job because of the anger issues. So he will think that if I get angry in my life, I will lose the opportunities that I'm getting. Just because of all this core belief, now this person doesn't get angry, and the consequence is that the person is most of the time quite silent, and actually his health is got affected. So what we have to do in this tool is that just see that what are the emotions which you are not expressing. You need to express, and unless until you identify the reason why you are not expressing it, you will not be able to express it in a balanced norm. So you have to identify the core beliefs because of which you are not getting angry, or you're getting angry all the time. There could be a core belief that you have seen somebody in your family being very silent, and that person was always taken granted. So today what you feel that if I don't raise my voice, people will take me granted. If I don't raise my voice, I won't get attention, which I have seen my mother or my sister not getting attention when I was growing, because she would always be silent. So here, even if there is no issue about around the thing, I make sure that I'm always too vocal, too loud, making sure that I'm getting all the attention. So it could be both the ways. And once you've identified what the core value, automatically your response or the consequence or the management skill of that given emotion will come in moderation. So it's very important for us to understand how do we manage our emotion, and if we are reacting in a given way, why we are reacting in a given way. And the next tool is practicing I statement. This is very, very helpful in managing our personal relations, also with our inner circle, with colleagues and with friends. Now you will see what happens most of the time. When you are angry, you will go and say the other person, you make me angry, you have done so and so thing, that is why. You go and tell a student, you always come late in the class, and that is why I am unable to take my class to the next level, or I am unable to revise. You always break the continuity of the class. Or you go home and you say that every time you come late, I'm really irritated. So what happens that you are putting the blame on the other person. Now the moment the other person sees that you are putting a blame, he comes into an offensive mode. He will, there is a unseen wall created between both of you, and you never are able to resolve the problem. So here we will practice a I statement. You practice it, you write down a couple of I statement and start thinking on those lines. It will help you to take a ownership of a given situation without offending the other person. You'll be able to resolve. You'll be able to collaborate with the other person in finding solution of a given situation. So I'll give you one example. So here I'm giving an example of, maybe your spouse comes late from office, and the entire evening you end up overworking, or keep waiting, or you don't have anybody to talk to in the evening because your family is coming back late. So here, instead of putting the blame to the other person, you say that when when I have to spend the evening alone, or when I'm lonely in the evening, or when I have too much of work in the evening, I feel unhappy. So here you are putting this your situation, you are talking of how you are feeling. You're not saying you are making me angry, or you are making me disappointed. You say, I feel sad because uh, right from my childhood, I was always lonely, and I was looking forward to be in a good company after my marriage. Or right from my childhood, in the evening, it was always family around, and I'm so used to being with family. So, uh, can we please, create a situation when in evening we are together? Or is it possible that we come to a situation wherein there is a time by after which I can expect you to be home? So what happens that here, instead of putting the blame to the other person, you're taking ownership of being unhappy, and telling the other person that I need your help, I need your support, let's collaborate and create a happy situation. Let's get to the solution of a given problem. So these were two tools which you start using. There are many more tools. If you go on Google, there are many more competency mapping questionnaire. And if when the next level of this class session is wherein we do hands-on session of these questionnaire. So what you can do, you can go on Google and you can find one such questionnaire. There are many of them, and just try to answer to them. When answering those questions, just be unbiased. Don't think and manipulate your answers. Don't write what you want to do, or what you should do, or how you would have reacted, but actually write that how you react. And if you actually check your those assessments, you will understand what is your level of emotional intelligence, and then you can start working on it with help of such tools, like mapping your emotions, understanding what is the background, what is the core belief because of which you are behaving in a given way, and also practicing things like I statement. So with that, I come to the end of the presentation that I had. Now, I'm open to the questions. If you have any such life issues, or if you have any such work issues wherein you feel that you are unable to manage your emotions, and in a stressed situation you are unable to express how you're feeling, then you can ask me, we can discuss it. Or if you have something to add to what I have said, we can even do that. So you can unmute and you can talk about it. Yes. Anybody has any questions, you can ask me, or anything about the presentation that you want to ask. Any part
Madam,
which,
Madam,
yeah, yes.
I am Vishalal Goswami from BSA Engineering College, Mathura.
Hi,
My
good afternoon.
question is that if somebody is anger with me, how
Mhm.
I represent my emotion that time?
So what I understand, Dr. Goswami, that the question is that you are not angry, the other person is angry,
Yes.
and you want to express your emotions.
Yeah.
So, what kind of emotion here? First of all, identify what emotion you have. When somebody is angry on you, or angry on a situation, what emotions you are having. So, first of all, you have to understand your emotion. So, can you share what emotion you would have? Can you give a situation and tell me what?
Naturally, human being, the reaction is the same if somebody is angry, but I want to control that.
Mhm.
Emotional intelligence I need. So, what
Okay.
to the expression on my face at that time, or what I can avoid that situation.
Okay. So here I would say that it totally depends on what is your surrounding. If you are in a public place, or you are at your office situation wherein you have an option of moving out of the situation. So when somebody is angry at that particular moment, and it's automatic for us also to reciprocate in anger only, because we are human. So instead of doing anything, you just move out of the situation. All right, because in anger most of the time we just think that we are right and the other person is wrong, and that is why we are angry. So in that situation, don't try to convince and communicate with that person. Moving out of the situation is the best way. And then later on, when you are peaceful, that person will automatically come out of anger, and then you can connect, understand, be a good listener. Just by being listening to the other person, that person's 50% complaint and anger will go off. Balance 50%. We all are wise to respond to a given situation as per the situation. If you feel you are at mistake, accept it, apologize and move on. If you feel that you are not and there is something you want to explain it largely by using I statement. But at home, wherein you maybe don't have option of moving out, none of us, we stay in palaces. At the most there are 2 to 3 rooms, so it's not possible to avoid that person there.
Some
One
places,
is, and yes.
some places I hear, if you explaining something or you are clarifying yourself, it means you have the fault.
No, it's always the way that we do it. If you are being extra nice, extra polite, and then you are explaining, then the other person will think that you are going weak because you are taking ownership of the problem. But if you are being balanced, that is what I'm saying. Tone and pitch and your listening ability does wonders in these situations. One second, just give me a moment. So if you feel that you are not at fault, or that person feels that person is not at fault, the best thing over here is to sit together, and as you want to make the situation better and you have that wisdom, you have that better emotional intelligence, just hear it out, just listen to the person, what is their perspective. At that moment, don't try to correct them, just listen to it.
That
Once,
we have to avoid.
not avoiding, just listen to it, let it come to an end wherein it's neutralized. See, at the moment when you are angry, it's in minus. So first get it on 0, let it neutralize, have a glass of water, have some tea together, maybe the same day or after a day or maybe after 2 days, when things are normal, bring it up with a nice tone, with lots of, because by now you have connected with the person, you have connected back with the person, you have won the trust. So now if you speak about it without blaming, see, whenever there is an issue, it's always 2 or more than 2 people who are responsible. One person cannot be 100% wrong and the other one is 100% right. So when we come to a common solution, it's not 50-50 also, it's 70-30, 60-40, 80-20, but it's not 50-50 also, and it's not 100% also. So in that situation, it's better to look at it as a problem as 100% instead of doing it 80-20. So when you, instead of doing it 80-20 or 60-40, you do it as 100%, you start with an intent to find the solution to a given problem. So automatically solution will come. So here it's not about I or you, it's about we. So we did this, because of this, there was a situation at home. So how do we make it better? You try this approach, it will always have a positive outcome. Yeah. Any other question?
Thank you. Thank you.
You're welcome, Dr. Goswami. Any other
Yes,
question?
ma'am.
Yes.
I have a question. Well, I would like to know the techniques involved in switching off the mind. I mean, switching off work-related thoughts and everything once I
Mhm.
get.
Okay. Why do you want to do that? Why do you want to switch on and switch off? We are not electric appliances. We
No,
can't switch on a button and switch off the button. I take work-life balance or life balance sessions, and the first thing I said, don't try to balance it out. Try to integrate work and life. You can't leave work at work and home at home. It's just not possible that if you have ailing parents, or if you have your kids, some issue at school, and then you go to work and then you can just not think about it. Or you have had some issue at work, or there was some happiness, there was some excitement, there was some promotion at work, and you come back and you don't celebrate at home. So when you're coming back and going to work with celebrations, why to leave those responsibilities and those thoughts back? We don't have to live in compartments. Integrate it. Work is also part of life. In fact, our life success and our life happiness largely depends on how successful we are at work. So why do we need to be switch off and become over here? But we know how to prioritize. So at work, I prioritize my work responsibility. At home, I prioritize my home responsibilities. But switch on, switch off doesn't work. We are not robots. So that first of all, we have to come out of thought of leaving work at work and leaving home at home. It's integrating both of it by understanding our priority. So if at work my priority is cooking, I will not take my office file and start working on it. But while I'm cooking and listening to music, I also have back of my mind. I'm thinking about some problem at work and how do I resolve it. But my primary focus is cooking, and maybe and then secondary is listening to music because that is needed for my family and for my soul. And then I have my work, thought also going on. But this is what we have to practice to prioritize. We don't have to practice to leave one at one and two at two. We have to integrate it and learn to prioritize. I hope that answers the question, Ram.
Yes, ma'am, it did. Thank you.
You're welcome. Any other questions that we have? I understand that now we are done with the session and it's time to leave for the day. But unfortunately, we could not have a longer chat with each other. But I sincerely look forward to meet up with each one of you on some other platform and having this great session. Taking it to the next level, talking more about life, talking more about how we can benefit our collaborations in personal space to benefit at work and vice versa. So all this we can be there. Lots we can talk about emotions and managing life and integrating priorities of life. So with that, I come to the end and I take permission to now end the session.
Ma'am, before you leave, can I ask another question that just popped up in my mind?
Please do ask.
Well, is there any kind of relationship between this emotional intelligence and spiritualness? Because I find there's a bit amount of similarity involved in both of them. Whereas, I mean, what I mean to say is, spiritual doesn't have any scientific explanation, but when you talk about all these, levels, competencies, etc., etc., this is more kind of a scientific way of telling the same thing. Now,
Yes.
so is there any kind of relationship?
Yes, as I said about the work and life, the same way you talk of spirituality, you talk of emotions, you talk of personal, then there are, I have heard of many now, there is environmental intelligence. All this makes us complete. So if emotional intelligence is my response to self and the community, spiritual intelligence is my response or my ability to respond to the universe. So these are all different sets of ability, and spirituality also can be understood by the same model. We can, I mean, that Mr. Goldman, I would say, was lucky enough to make the first model and which was so well accepted. But today, sitting out here, you can create so many models just by understanding your spiritual needs. So, and again, none of these skill sets are science of arts. It's a mix of all of it. So spirituality also is one of the part of our personal growth, or you can say a universal growth, or a holistic growth. So it's being spiritual, being emotionally balanced, being academically intelligent, being socially aware. All these are different skill sets that makes us complete. And we grow as a, it's, as I said, it's a holistic development of the mind. So these are all the different, types of skill sets. And again, you can't be emotionally strong if you are emotionally balanced. You'll automatically be closer to your spiritual intelligence. Your spirituality will be at a higher level. So this is all, they all complement each other, and they actually complete us as a holistic, from the holistic approach.
Okay, ma'am. Thank you.
You're welcome. Yeah, Dr. Benny, now I need your permission. Hello.
Yes. Okay, ma'am. So I'm Ram, and yes, I would be giving you the vote of thanks on behalf of my department. First of all, thank you very much, ma'am. It was a very enjoyable, at the same time very important session for us as upcoming academicians, young academicians who are just trying to learn the craft of the subject as well as managing students of some huge number. So it's something very, very important I felt personally that balancing emotions is very important both at work and even in personal life. And the last point, which you just added to say that, spirituality and this emotional intelligence make the human being more whole and
Yeah.
get connected to the universe. So yes, I loved it, and I'm sure the rest of the participants also did. And thank you very much for your time.
Thanks a lot, and my apologies again for wasting so much of time. Next time, I'm sure it will not happen.
Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you so much.
Please, participants, all of you unmute your videos. We'll take a screenshot.
Okay, ma'am.
Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you so
Thank you,
much.
one and all. Again, we'll meet you
Thank you.
tomorrow. Bye-bye.